This is Skill 37 Walker Types, Fitting, Sit to Stand, and Return to Sitting. First is the Walker Types. This is the standard folding walker that's easy to use for transportation because it can fold. This is showing how you fold it. You simply press in the button and then slide in the sides. You can also see how to adjust the height by pressing in the button and moving up or down. This is your two-wheeled walker, which the wheels do not swivel side to side, but the wheels do make it easier for mobility. Then you have your standard four-wheel, which is typically a rollator that has a seat and brakes, but the patient might not be able to control the brake system, so that's something to consider. This is your stair climbing walker, which has hand grips on the rear legs to use for stairs, but is rarely used because it's difficult to maneuver. This is your ring walker. It has trunk support for patients with adequate lower extremity movements, just trunk issues. It's large and unable to fold. This is your reciprocal walker, which has joints so that you can move one side at a time, but normally they just use a rolling walker instead. Measure from the greater trochanter to the lateral epicondyle, and then you can take it from there and measure from there down to the bottom of the shoe. Add those two numbers together, and then that will correspond to the top of the handrail. There's actually 3 different ways to do the sit to stand. The first one we're going to do is the one that is the most secure. So, Raya, I want you to go ahead and move your ankles just a little back, and I have her seated at the edge of the wheelchair. And then what you're going to do is take one hand at a time and move them to the armrests just behind your hips. Go ahead and do that for me. Good. Now, when you stand, I want you to use both your legs and your arms to push up, and I'm going to have a hold of you just so you feel comfortable until you get used to this. And then you're going to move one hand at a time to the walker when you start to stand. Okay? Okay. So we'll go ahead and try that. And 3, 2, 1, lift. So for this one, she's going to have one hand on the crossbar and one hand on the armrest of the wheelchair. This one isn't used as much because they tend to push forward instead of down, tipping the walker. So as I have her stand, first we're going to move the hand that is still on the wheelchair to the handrest on the walker, and then move the hand that's on the crossbar to the handrest. Go ahead and do that, and 3, 2, 1. Oh. Here we're going to do it again, and this time Mariah is really going to push down. That way you can see what will happen if the patient understands kind of where they need to push. So 3, 2, 1, up. Good. The patient puts both of their hands on the handrail of the walker, and again using both the arms and the legs to lift. This way it might not be used as much because where the arms are higher up, the patient has a harder time transferring that weight. So 3, 2, 1, up. We're going to line the walker up with the back legs just about at the toes, and her elbows should be at a 20 to 30 degree angle once her hands are on the handrails. If they're not, you adjust the walkers just like you do the crutches. There's little push-in dots that you can move up or down. Tell the patient to scoot back until the back of their legs touch the wheelchair. But again, like we've learned before, as they're sitting, you can tell them their knees can come forward. They don't have to maintain that touch against the wheelchair. And we're going to scoot the walker back just so she won't have to reach once she goes to sit. There's 2 different ways you can do that. The first way is she's going to reach back one hand at a time to the armrest on the wheelchair and then lower herself using both her arms and her legs. So we'll go ahead and do that. So go ahead and turn and reach back for one of the armrests, and then reach back for this one, and slowly lower. The second way in which you could do the stand to sit is the patient will have one hand on the crossbar again and one hand on the armrest, slowly lowering using both their arms and their legs. This way isn't recommended as with the sit to stand because of the instability of the walker, but we're going to go ahead and show it. So reach with your right hand onto the crossbar, and then use your left hand on the armrest and slowly lower. Good. Okay, we're done.